Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one, guys. Fun one we're going to have on this one. Welcome to our live Texans-Bills postgame show. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. FanDuel didn't believe in us. Nobody believed in the Texans on this one, I don't think, but they pull it off. And joining me is contributor and the Bullpen podcast co-host Thomas Chavarria, along with Houston radio legend, you know him, you love him, Jayson Braddock. And hey, you live YouTube viewers are also part of the conversation, so hit us with questions and comments. And you know what, Tom? I tell you what, the defense, we've been talking about it all season long. They, those last drives, they just haven't had it in them to finish it off. They finished it off this time.
So I started this 3 games ago, and some of it's been celebratory. Some of it's been because I knew there was going to be the smoke. I'm just going to say the Texans make me drink. And tonight was no different. Hell of a game. It went every which way it could go. You felt good. You felt bad. You went up. You went down. So glad the boys pulled out the victory. I mean, it really changes a lot with the landscape of the playoff picture and what this now means for a Texan team that now can look at moving forward, maybe with their star quarterback back.
What do you think, Jace?
No, I think y'all said it perfectly. This breathes life back into this franchise for 2025. Love the offensive line changes. We talked on here a couple of weeks ago. The first game, the post-game show right after Trent Brown got his first start. Wanted to see how he looked. Once he showed respectable in that game, I felt, hey, make him the right tackle, plug that hole at left guard with Titus Howard, bring Ed Ingram back at right guard. And I was surprised to see him actually do this. The only change I would make, and I'm probably nitpicking here, I would still like to see Jarrett Patterson at center over Jake Andrews, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is that they pulled out a win. Wasn't always pretty, at least on the offensive side and special teams, and we'll get into all that. But 6-5 after starting 0-3, this team under D'Amico Ryans has shown that you can't rule them out. So, I mean, it's a great win for the city of Houston, obviously for the Texans franchise.
Keeps hope alive, that's for sure, and puts them in a good position playoff-wise. They doubled their chances to get to the playoffs, according to all the metrics. Biff says, hell of a win by the Texans. D'Amico's still on the hot seat, according to Biff, but good to see the Texans win a game. They lose 99 times out of 100, especially this year, I would say. Must we have the conversation about Davis versus CJ? I don't know about that, but we could get into that in just a bit. Texans go out in this game with a 3-and-out on the first possession. Mills overthrows Higgins by a couple of yards on a 3rd and 4 go route. Trent Brown didn't do Mills any favors on that one. Had a little bit of a rush there, beat badly by Bosa. And as I said last week, this Texans D can start off slow at times. 10-play, 81-yard drive by the Bills. What happened, Jason, on Cook's 44-yard touchdown? It was 3rd and inches, and it just looked like they sort of broke free of containment a little bit and what they were trying to do there.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. This game turns out being a close one, but it really wasn't close as far as, offense versus defense performance. That plays all Buffalo really had as an offense up until late, where the Texans continued to leak and miss tackles. And like I said, I don't want to get too far out ahead. But most importantly on that play, and, with us going live right after the game, didn't have the opportunity to rewatch like I typically would. But watching it live, it looked like, number one, the Bills did a great job blocking on that play. You get on to Azeez Al-Shire, and Al-Shire's not able to get any separation. EJ Speed was coming across, looked like he'd have a clean shot. I want to say it was Deion Dawkins that got to the second level, spun him around, and then nobody was able to come up. There wasn't a safety to come up in that picture and field. And Cook's a talented running back. You hate to see it there, but they basically shut that door the rest of the game outside of a couple plays.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think they did a good job with him. After that, it's 6-0 after Prater misses the extra point. Jalen Noel, nice kickoff return. Texans go after that weak Bills run defense 3 first down runs from Marks and Chubb helped put it inside the 10, but same old Texans, Tom. They come away with 3 after Mills misses Knoll and Cook on second and third down. Mills, plenty of time on both throws. And speaking to Biff on this, no, there's no conversation. Mills is the backup for a reason. Accuracy has been the issue. I have done postgame after postgame on this, and I keep talking about it. Davis Mills, he's just got to be more pinpoint as far as his accuracy goes.
Yeah, it was a theme all game. We're going to talk about it more, but definitely on this drive, there was plenty of opportunities for Davis Mills. And the big thing that I think needs to be said and people need to understand is if you are not seeing how much better this offensive line is blocking for Davis Mills these last 3 games versus the first games that CJ had, where he looked like Josh Allen running for his life, getting sacked 7 times. Look at Davis Mills. Yeah, he had to move around a little bit and navigate the pocket a little bit, but for the most part, he stayed clean. And if you give CJ that kind of time with the way he's accurate, I guarantee you the score would have not nearly been as close in this game. But they got points. That was important. You look at it after as bad as the first drive was, they go down, get a field goal. It's a 3-point game. You still feel like you're in the football game.
Yeah, and I'll jump in real quick, Robert, if you don't mind. The pass to Kirk wasn't bad. Kirk should have caught that. That was a touchdown. Kirk's got to bring that one in. And there's a lot that Mills missed on, and Kirk saves himself later in the game as well, as we'll get to. But that I wouldn't put on Davis Mills. I thought he put it where it should have been caught, should have been a touchdown there. And then while Mills did miss a lot of passes in this game, and he shoulders a lot of that blame, also wouldn't blame him for the Higgins overthrow. That's a miscommunication there. Higgins should read that instead of an cut as a go, and that's what Mills throws. And you can see after the play where Mills is giving the hand signal like you've got to take that. But I mean, that's the guy, a rookie wide receiver. I think it was the very next play, he can't get 2 feet in, but we see Higgins respond multiple times later, not only with the touchdown, but also with getting the 2 feet in. Big pickup there late in the game, being able to get that second foot in. So we always got to remember, these are young guys, these are rookies that's developing. But there's a couple plays I think that were chalked up to Mills missing, and he had a lot of misses that wasn't truly on Mills on those plays.
Wasn't there a throw earlier in the drive, a long play along the near sideline, at least from the television vantage point, that he missed? There were 2 looked like open Texans, and he threw it between the 2 guys, and it looked like they'd both beat their guys on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit later than that series, but I know exactly. I think one was Dalton Schultz, and maybe it was Higgins. I can't remember who the other receiver was in. Maybe Tom remembers. But he split the difference. Both guys were open. He split the difference, threw it between both of them. So, yeah, that was definitely on Mills there. And then to start the game, and then later in the game, Cade Stover, he just has not looked the same. Started out with a drop, had another drop later in the game that was big. He just hasn't looked the same, not only in a receiving role, but in his bread and butter as a blocker as well, too. So hopefully that's something he continues to knock the rust off. It didn't cost him in this game, but he's got to get back to playing like he was earlier before all the injuries.
Yeah, I'll say on Cade Stover's first drop, I mean, Davis Mills on a 5-yard throw, we were looking right at the guy, and there's nobody between you and the guy. You can't throw it at his waist or, at his hips or whatever. So, that's a little bit on both of those guys. But, yeah, NFL tight ends got to make those catches. But it makes a big difference because if he throws it up by the chest, then Stover can turn and maybe get some extra yards. As it was, if he makes that catch, it probably forces him down after just 4 or 5 yards there. Bill's next possession goes nowhere thanks to Will Anderson chasing down Josh Allen on third down. We're going to talk a lot about Will Anderson as this game goes along, but the Texans go 3 and out when Mills misses a wide open Higgins on second down. That could have turned into a big play. Townsend hits that perfect punt, killing it inside the 5. His best punt, I thought, this year. That was beautiful. One of the better punts you'll ever see. After the Bills drive into the end zone, settles TFL and Anderson sack, forces a field goal. Texans' next possession, after an eco catch, a face mask, and a huge 4th down power run by Woody Marks. He had a couple of huge runs like that in this game. Texans, another golden opportunity, but they cash in this time, Tom. After Caley's inside run fails on first down at the 2, they go no huddle for the Kirk touchdown pass. And, this is what I've been waiting for 20 years, for a Texans offense to go up tempo near the goal line. You know what? It's so easy when you can sort of have that defense worn down after the whole drive, and then you go up tempo and they're off balance a little bit.
I think the issue, though, and look, I love the play call too, but I think the issue is you're talking about a backup quarterback trying to get on the same page with some of these guys, and you're seeing the drops, and then you ask them to speed it up, and it's like they need more time to get on the same page. I'm glad they got it done. The red zone thing has started to turn a corner a little bit over the last 3 games we've seen. I think it's as much a maturation of Nick Haley as it is the offensive line improving. Just being able to find the time to make some of these throws, where I think before they were calling some plays like this, but man, CJ was on his horse the entire time, just scrambling for his life. So, and then they obviously tried to run the ball, which wasn't working either. So credit to the Texans for being able to get this punched in, because now you're looking at this game totally different. It's like, oh wait, now they're on top. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
How bad is that Bills defensive line, Jayson? Because it just didn't seem like they could put pressure at all for most of the game.
I mean, Joey Bosa and Greg Rousseau, they're without U of H's Ed Oliver, obviously being on IR. So that's a big there in the middle of the D-line. But on the edges, all the talk was about Greg Rousseau coming into this game, who's, I want to say, top 10 and quarterback hits. I want to say he's got 14, 15 quarterback hits, was right around where Danielle Hunter and these guys are. So, he can get after the quarterback. Joey Bosa is tied for the NFL lead in forced fumbles with 4. He had all 4 of those, I think, in the first 3 games. But you mentioned earlier how he beat Trent Brown there.
Oh, lost him a little bit.
They've been bad against the run across the board. Go ahead.
Breaking up a little bit. Yeah, I think you're dropping a couple of times. Hopefully we'll reconnect in just a second. But just one thing, Brian says, why was Kaylee calling plays acting as if we were up by 30? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about there. We'll get to the stuff later in the game, but I don't remember seeing anything like that. Just a quick reminder, if you're not watching us live, still want to hear your comments on this one, get in the comments. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you can get the notifications and the updates on the live shows. And of course, all of our content. We're supposed to have an Astros guest this week, but a little of an emergency for him, family emergency. We're going to get him by next week. It looks like you also want to subscribe to all of our content on your favorite podcast app. All right, back to the action. Alshire tips Josh Allen's first pass on the next possession. Bullock intercepts it. Great run back by Bullock, but Derek Barnett's illegal block on the return cancels the pick 6. And that's massive because it costs 4 points. That 4 points, I was scared to death the whole game. That's going to be the difference, especially if the Bills had that last touchdown. Thankfully, didn't have to worry about that. And then Frank Ross's group hurts the Texans, Tom, for the 3rd straight week with that special teams gaffe, making it an 11-point turnaround there. And at that point, I was a little worried.
Yeah, British Books looks like he took a terrible route to the runner. And then it was a weird, he rolled and bounced off the guy. I wish, I don't wish these things for our guys, right? But it's like, damn, I don't know what else, to say other than they got to be better. It can't happen. Huge turning point, because you get on top and you're like, wow, we just found 3 points. And I know what you're saying about the 7 and having to settle for the 3, but for me, I always look at that as look, that was a drive you weren't going to have. That was points you weren't going to have. Your defense got you 3 extra points. So I'm not going, well, it should have been 7. Yeah, it was a boneheaded penalty, and you got to clean that up. But the kickoff killed me, because it was just like you feel like you're stretching this thing out, and this defense has been locked down, and now you give it back to him right away.
I think that was the only penalty of the first half as well. So, yeah, Tom usually goes glass half full. I go glass half empty. It's probably somewhere in between on a lot of this stuff. He's got a glass in his hand right now that's probably half full. And Brian said that's what I'm talking about, just a lot of runs right up the middle and consistently going 3 and out in the second half. Look, Nick Caley wasn't sitting there trying to call 3-and-outs in the second half. I don't think that was the idea. And I don't think there was a lot of runs up the middle either. They were doing some other stuff. So I just disagree with you guys on that. Texans 2-minute drive. All right, this was good to see. Nico, big first down catch. Christian Kirk, huge catch and run to the 8-yard line. Couldn't believe the refs didn't call Kirk out of bounds, stopping the clock. And then I was surprised a little bit, and I think Jayson was too, that the Texans let 20 seconds run off the clock. My feeling, Jayson, was that they were so scared that Josh Allen was going to have some time to get the ball back before the end of the half. They were like, we can't give this guy 20, 25 seconds if we, throw 3 passes here and 3 incompletions and Josh Allen's back on the field with time to kick the field goal. So maybe they were playing it safe there. I'm not sure what was going on, but either way, I thought Kirk was Kirk ran out of bounds. His knees might have hit the ground first before he got out of bounds, but he fell out of bounds. I just don't understand that call.
Yeah, but with that knee hitting in bounds first, that's where you're down out. So you're not going to get the out of bounds call. I would have liked, it turns out to be all ado about nothing because they score a touchdown on the very next play. But I still think it's a better decision to call that timeout. You got 1 timeout left there. You call it. You've got about 30 seconds. That gives you a legit 3 shots at the end zone. But again, they let it count down to, I think, about 9 seconds. So you get 1 shot. The issue with that is that if you don't have any timeouts and you have a penalty with less than 10 seconds left, it's an automatic runoff. And so it was a little high risk, but it paid off. They find Jayden Higgins there for the touchdown on the very first play. And that play right there, they get some of that +4 back. There's a lot of people talking, as you mentioned as well, as far as getting field goals instead of touchdown. Well, this is one of the times it went the opposite direction where they got that +4 instead of a -4, getting a touchdown there, where I think most people, even Texans fans and myself included, expected that drive to end in a field goal with how quickly they got down there and really only having 1 shot at the end zone.
Yeah, and I want to point out, I think that they had 2 shots because I think it was around 17 seconds when they snapped the ball next. And there was a play where I want to say he might have just missed Higgins. Higgins might have been out of bounds or something on the side of the end zone. Does that sound right, Tom? Was that the first play that they did after Kirk's run?
I think there was a play in there, but I thought that then there was an injury timeout in there that kind of really hurt because they had to burn their last timeout too. So they were out of timeout.
Actually, the injury thing didn't end up hurting them because, yeah, they had to burn the timeout for the runoff, but it was 9 seconds left, so it was basically going to be 1 play anyway. So they had 1 timeout with 1 play, and that's why you don't want to leave with a timeout in your pocket, I guess. Then he hits the laser from Mills to Higgins on the touchdown. That was 4 catches for Higgins in this game, 38 yards, 9 targets. What's going on here, Jayson? Is Jayden Higgins taking a step? Does Mills just love Jayden Higgins? Where are we with Higgins and what he's been doing the last few weeks?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all that you mentioned. Higgins has been deadly when they line him up inside. They put him in that slot. Big frame, 6'4". When I think 6'4" guy in the slot, I think Marquez Colston for the Saints with Drew Brees and how he just tore up the league. And that's kind of what they found with Jayden Higgins when they move him inside there. Davis Mills in the offseason, a lot of times you're a backup quarterback. You're not getting the reps with the top starting guys. So you'll get a lot of reps with the rookies and depth guys. So he had an opportunity to build probably more chemistry there with him than some of the other guys like a Christian Kirk or whoever it may be. And then, like you said, I think Jayden Higgins is also getting better. We're still seeing some of those rookie mistakes, but then he's coming back in the same game and correcting those mistakes. And I thought it was a great route by Higgins, got open, gave him a big target, wide catch radius. And I thought Mills, instead of putting the ball too far inside where coverage was coming on the inside as well as him having a guy on his back, made it a catchable ball that prevented any opportunity for a pass breakup. So job well done from both of those guys, especially in the clutch moment, especially in the goal-to-go situation when time counting down against the number 2 goal-to-go defense in the entire NFL. That was big to see.
Tom, I think Higgins needs to go to the Barishnikov school of using your feet along the sidelines the way Nico does, because that's something that he was having trouble doing in this game a couple of times.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because you feel like they practice that a ton, right? And then the two plays that we're talking about where he clearly, didn't have that, it looked really bad. And I'm like, man, you got to drag your feet, tap the whole night. But then you see him later on in the game do it. So to Jayson's point, he's growing up on the spot. I think what really is helping Jayden Higgins a lot too is just being on the field a ton, because they talked about it early in the season, how he's been a better blocker. So he's probably getting more snaps, and that's just going to lead to more target share.
And having Nico take attention away from him too is always a big.
Yeah. Nico helps, obviously. Third quarter, Bills punt after Will Anderson comes out of the game with a hurt shoulder and then comes back in, then sacks Josh Allen on third down. And Tom, this sounds like something you would want to talk about. You want to wax poetic about Anderson's effort on that play? That was the Terminator in full effect.
The funny thing is they have like a drill for that, right? Where there's like a loop, like a hoop where they make you come around it and they time that thing. And that's exactly why. So when the quarterback steps up in the pocket, you are still in constant pursuit to go make that play. And I mean, anybody that questions if this isn't the best, edge duo in the league, they put it on tape today. I don't know how you argue with that, because I don't think that's happened to Josh Allen in the last 3 or 4 years or something like that. I don't know if he's ever been sacked 8 times. It was pretty special.
Yeah, Al Michaels basically gave the Texans a highlight reel worth of audio from this game. Just couldn't wax more poetically about how great the Texans defense looked all night. He was talking about it all the way to the end of the game, so that was kind of fun. Classic Texans O-line on the next drive. Penalties on Jake Andrews and Trent Brown. After just one first half penalty, they get a couple on that drive, which kills it. Bills go 3 and out thanks to a third down Danielle Hunter sack. Everybody getting in on it. Texans can't take advantage of great field position, though. It's 3 and out when Chubb is stuffed on 3rd and 2. But then Kalen Bullock, the man of the night for the Texans in the secondary, another big play, Jayson, strips Shakir, and then rookie Jalen Reed recovers. You got the 2 interceptions and then that play. I mean, he was just outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I joked about it all game long. I watched, with it being in prime time, I was able to watch more of the pregame shows than I typically, more than I have all year by far in the last couple years. And I caught a very good interview from Richard Sherman where he sat down with, I guess, Hawk and Lock is what they're calling them, Kalen Bullock and Kamari Lassiter. The 2 young guys came up in the same draft class last year, talking about their relationship, how competitive they are. And I've joked about it all game long that Richard Sherman needs to just interview Bullock every week, because getting that spotlight on him, he had his best game. He was everywhere. I mean, the covering the range, making the interceptions, all of them at crucial times, and then the forced fumble to get on the ball like that. I mean, it was just a huge game, and to combine that with what you're getting out of your defensive ends in this game, you needed every bit of it to pull out this win.
I can't remember if it was Al Michaels or, somebody said, hey, Kamari Lassiter, I think this guy might be just as good or close to as good as Sting. I was glad to hear that on Lassiter, and what he's doing, I think, just doesn't match up to maybe some of the grading that they're doing on PFF, because to me, this guy's, playing Pro Bowl cornerback. The Texans can't turn that into 7 after a delay a game, a deflection inside the 15. Kind of another frustrating red zone possession, the typical field goal for the Texans. But the Bills put together this drive inside the Texans territory. But man, we got to talk about these unheralded tackles who made a couple of huge plays. Tom, Jayson, who wants to talk about my boy Tommy Togiai on 3rd down with the run stuff? Man, he was just awesome tonight. And then Sheldon Rankins, I mean, just making himself skinny and beating his guy on 4th down. Wow.
I mean, I guess I'll go. I don't have a problem going. As much as we talk about the secondary, which we love, I think Jayden Reed is like the angry version of Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley is a nice guy, mild-mannered. Jayden Reed looks just like him, just angry. And he was everywhere. He made a lot of tackles tonight. I thought he's great. But to get back to what we were supposed to be talking about, The interior of the defense just doesn't get a lot of love, right? The edges do all the things. The secondary does all the things, but the interior was nasty. The interior was finishing. The interior was absolutely unbelievable from an aspect of anytime Josh Allen wanted to step up in the pocket, they were there waiting for him. So now he's looking around. I've never seen a quarterback look so like, I don't know where I want to go. For a dude that's a MVP, Pro Bowl, everything dude, for them to make him look like that says a lot, because there was 3 or 4 different plays where he literally had the ball in his hands and didn't know where to turn. Like, I don't know which way to go because I'm going to get sacked no matter which way I go. So the interior did an amazing job. They finished off a few of those sacks. I mean, you talked about them. So I hope that this is the start of more of that. I hope we see this week in, week out.
Jason, lock Tommy Togiai up before it's too late. I want like a 10-year contract, man. This guy, this guy would be a starter on most teams in the NFL, right? I mean, he looks like he could be Pro Bowl guy. I mean, he's everywhere I'm watching the game and I'm like, is that 72 again? Every time he's in the game.
Yeah, we said early in this season, I think we gave him his Mafia nickname, said he sounds like a 1920s Mafia guy, Tommy Four Toes Togiai. It's just an awesome name, and his play's been awesome as late. Love seeing D'Amico Ryans come out in the press conference this week and sing that man's praises, but he's really been a find for this franchise, stepped up. As y'all both laid out, Sheldon Rankins. Rankins really been an unsung hero as well, because I think most fans know what to expect from what he did here a couple of years ago. But he's picked up where he and I mean, he can be a ninja sometimes. So where a 300-pound ninja to where he'll just move and make 2 guys whiff. Just like, man, what are we seeing here? So I think the appreciation for those guys are great to have. And a lot of times when you start off 0-3 and you're battling, have some tough losses, a lot gets overlooked. But when you start winning 3 of the last 4, 5 of the last 7, then you can really start going back and pointing out the appreciation of guys that have made those extra little plays. And as Tom mentioned, at a defensive tackle position that not only here in Houston, but around the entire NFL is an unsung position unless you're like an Aaron Donald type.
Brandon says Nick Caley sucked again. I don't know about that.
To what Brandon and Brian are talking about real quick. The offense was so up-tempo and fast-paced to end the second quarter. You saw them go up and down the field to score the touchdown. And I think in the third quarter, we didn't see any of that. And I think that's what they're talking to. I don't necessarily look at it as a negative. Obviously, yeah, you would love to see them just throw the ball all over the yard. But at the same time, I think that there's part of the game where it's like, look, we don't want to turn this into a track meet with a team that can score a ton of points in bunches. So they were trying to I think, shorten the game and eat up clock, because when they win time of possession, they win the football game. And I think that's why the offense didn't look as sexy as it did to end the second quarter. And I get it.
They were moving the ball on the ground in the first half, and this defense stinks as far as rush defense. I mean, it's the worst rush defense in the NFL. So you can't blame the Texans for trying that. It kind of wasn't working at times as well as it did in the first half. I also think that Woody Marks missed some yardage too. I mean, as much as he was getting complimented by the broadcast team and everything, I just saw a couple of runs where if he cuts one way instead of another way, he missed some yards there. So that was part of it. There was also, they were selling out a little bit more. They were selling all out on the defensive line too. So it was a combination of factors, but there was a lot of missed plays. I mean, I keep going back to it. Davis Mills, whether the receivers went wrong direction, whatever, like Jason was talking about, Davis Mills and the receivers missed each other a lot, and these guys were open a lot. That's a positive that they were open. The negative was that they just, they couldn't connect, and we'll see what the difference is with CJ Stroud. Maybe the O-line has figured some stuff out, like Jason said, but keeping on with the game, we'll hit the last few sections here. And the Texans go 3 and out after Stover drops a pass, and the Andrews-Ingram combo. I thought they fell asleep a little bit on that delayed blitz. They were both blocking one guy. The other guy comes flying in from 5 yards out, and nobody gets off their block to try to get that guy, at least chip him a little bit. So Davis Mills takes it. But The Stover drop didn't help. Jayson talked about it earlier. After not blitzing the whole night, Matt Burke decides to bring the house. That cost the Texans. Big mistake. Shakir picks up 33 to the 20, but then settles, sacks Allen for the 6th time, and Hunter nearly gets his 2nd of the game, forcing the field goal. So the D-line comes up again, but the Texans can't run out much clock. Only 1 first down before punting. I was trying to figure out what I would have done differently there. It was just too hard for me to say. They just didn't execute well on those plays. And this is where the Texans D had fallen apart all year, like I talked about earlier, these last second drives. And I want to get your thoughts, Jayson, on this 4th and 27. What in the world happened to the Texans right there? Were they in the wrong defense, or what did they do wrong?
No, I think they played it well, but it looked like Stingley, they had it set up where they're kind of a prevent, which you understand there, where you've got your guys back because you don't care if you give up 26 yards. You just can't give up 27 yards. So you got your guys back being safe there. But the main thing you're doing there is when you have those guys out, they're playing the first down mark and everything else. Everybody has to stay disciplined. And I love Derek Stingley Jr., but I felt like he bit way too hard on the hook and ladder there. And it's like you're probably, even if I think it was Palmer that pitched it to Shakir, I may be getting it mixed up there. But whoever initially has the ball, the chances of Stingley running all the way across the field when you've got so many defenders on that side and making that play are very low. What you want to do is keep your discipline and stay on the back side of it. And you see the other receiver coming this way. So just like, all right, well, let me just be extra cautious and stay on this side. But when Stingley bites in, that leaves a void on that whole side of the field. And if that's your containment, that's your discipline and assignment there, and you leave that assignment, then it's nothing but green grass. So to me, again, watching live, it just looked like Stingley bit too hard on the hook and ladder and gave up his side, which led to a huge play and an embarrassing 4-7. I'll be honest, after that happened, the football can be such a momentum game, and you can get high and low. I didn't think the defense would be able to respond to that breaking play and not sit there and say, woe is me, oh no, it's happening again. And they didn't miss a beat. They continue to play like the dominant defense they are and just move right past it. So I don't think there's been a lot said about that, but kudos to their mindset of saying, move past a bad play, get to the next one, and still win the game.
And Tom, they responded with a couple of sacks, the 7th and 8th of the game. I mean, most Josh Allen has ever been sacked in his career. The defensive line, just the energy that they brought tonight, coming off. I mean, we got to remember, they just played 4 days ago, and you would have thought they hadn't played in like 3 months, and they were frothing at the bit, to play this game. And I don't even know where is your MVP, Tom? Is it Bullock for sure, or could it be Will Anderson, or is it the entire defensive line? Like, who won this? Who is the MVP of this game for you?
Oh, it's Will Anderson, no question. And for me on the 4th and 27, I think the prevent was just too far back. I think they were beyond the line and they were going to crash forward. And I think they opened up the space to allow the hook and ladder to happen underneath them. And I think that. Obviously, they did bite too hard, Stingley bit too hard, like you said, 100%. But I think if those guys are forward 5 or 10 yards, now they're not having to cover so much ground to be able to give up the first down. But for me, it's Will Anderson Jr. The dude was everywhere, even on the sacks he didn't get. He created so much pressure. There was a sack that Will Anderson got where, or not Will Anderson, but Daniil Hunter got that Will Anderson had Josh Allen's arm. It was just going to strip the ball. There was a play late in the game where Will Anderson goes up and tried to intercept a pass. 51 looked like 99 all night. He was everywhere. The dude was a monster. You could have some other players in the game if you wanted to, but for me, it was Will Anderson Jr.
Will Anderson had 2 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 solo tackles, 6 tackles altogether. Daniil Hunter also had 3 solo, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. So their numbers, those numbers were pretty close, although Will Anderson just seemed like he was everywhere. He was like Freddy Krueger, Jason. I mean, every time you looked around, he was popping up in front of Josh Allen's face, on his arm. He was behind him, like he was looking all over, and there he is again. There's Will Anderson.
Yeah, I don't think you could have asked for a better game for this defensive unit and their premier players on the national stage. I mean, if you look at social media, it's like the whole entire world woke up to what the Texans defense is. And they're talking about the Texans defense like the biggest Texans fans. And I mean, you know what I mean by that. I mean, like, can't do no wrong. And they're getting the praise that they're worthy of. And so I don't think if you're a Texans fan that you could have asked for a better defensive performance if you want that credibility from the whole national media. And I think the Texans have that right now.
Will Anderson had 2 TFLs. Danielle Hunter had 2 TFLs. Kamari Lassiter had 2 TFLs. Tim Settle had 2 TFLs. I mean, they were in the backfield all night, 11 tackles for loss in total in this game. And, you look at the offense and, Davis Mills, it's nothing like I said, it's nothing fantastic. He was 16 of 30, but he did have the 2 touchdown throws, only 153 yards. Just the big thing though, Tom, he did not do one thing, and that was turn the ball over. And that is such a big deal. And that's helped because of that offensive line, I think, doing a pretty decent job, whether it's, the Bills not getting to him and, just not having maybe some of the guys to get to him, or the offensive line doing their job. But give Davis credit. I mean, he's basically done a really nice job of not turning the ball over in his 3 starts.
The 2 plays that I want to highlight that I thought were huge for Davis Mills and for the Texans, just because it was something simple to keep them on schedule. There was a play where Woody Marks went the entire wrong way. Davis went to go handle the ball, looked, and there was no one there. Turned up field, makes a 4-yard run, then gets a face mask call, gets another 15. Huge play by Davis Mills where he could have, taken a sack because, my running back went the wrong direction. Another play, he avoids a sack and gets rid of the football, throws it beyond the line of scrimmage, gets outside the pocket, and lives to fight another day. Davis Mills did a great job of managing this game, but what we've been talking about and what you've been begging for all season long, this Texans defense won this football game. That you said they needed to go out and win football games. They said, if we're going to have an offense that's not going to be able to do it, and the defense is going to be to this level, and we're going to talk about them this way, they're going to have to win football games. And tonight, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that was why I led with that. That's why I led with that, Jason. This team, their identity is their defense. And I've said, like, the defense at the end of games, not finishing things off, you got to sweep the leg, in the end, sweep the leg.
Nice. I like it. Some old original Karate Kid. We're dating ourselves. But no, I definitely like it there. And yeah, it's a defensive win. There's no way around it. All season long, the defense has been picking up the offense. And this is another one of those games where the defense had to pick up the offense and the special teams. I mean, if you boil this down, what did the Buffalo Bills tonight, outside of a couple busted plays and missed tackles or missed assignment from the Texans? They had a 45-yard touchdown run and I think a 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown from Ray Davis. That's 13 points because they missed one of the extra points, which turned out to be huge in a 4-point win for the Texans. But so what did the defense give up? What was the final score? 23-19. So the defense gave up 10 points.
That's correct.
Well, not 10. I mean, they gave up the James Cook touchdown, but I mean, outside of that 140 play. And so, yeah, that's that's on the defense as well. But outside of that one busted play there, they locked them down all day long. If we go, because I know you're talking about you and Tom, glass half full, glass half empty. If I go glass half empty, as we've been singing their praises all game long, and Tom's right there with us now, 3/4 empty at this point. But if I go more on the negative side, I would say what's frustrating and what we'd be talking about a lot tonight if the Bills pull out a win in this game is the same mistakes we see all season long. What's happened to Frank Ross's special teams? This has been one of the most dominant special teams, been one of the best coaches. And, I mean, several games this year, he's put them behind me. I want to say this is at least the third game where his special teams has really let him down. And we're talking about returns, not me and not Tommy Townsend. I love seeing Tommy Townsend finally getting his kudos. I swear we talk about him every week on this show. So for him finally to start getting attention, even locally, I love to see that for him. He's a guy that should definitely be re-signed. But outside of Frank Ross's unit, the underneath passes going into this game, all the injuries to the wide receivers for Buffalo, Dalton Kincaid out. You said Buffalo's going to try to beat you the same way Tennessee stayed competitive. They're going to throw underneath because they don't have weapons, and you just got to come up and swarm what they're supposed to be known for and make tackles. And how many times a night do you see a pass a couple yards behind the line of scrimmage, a couple yards in front of the line of scrimmage that turns into a 5, 10, 20, 40-yard play? Yeah, I think that's frustrating. And also, I think it was a 2nd and 16. You get Josh Allen pinned back with a sack, and you let him take off and run for a first down. Zep 1978 on Twitter. I've known the guy for a while. He had a great post during the game, so I want to give credit where it's due. It's not my thoughts, but I thought it was excellent. He said the Texans defense is elite unless it's 3rd and 10 plus. And I thought it was on the nail. I mean, 2nd and 16, 2nd and long, the missed tackles, the Josh Allen scramble. So I think it's the things that they continue to make mistakes in week 12 that they've made since week 1. I think that's frustrating. And this team has the opportunity to go as far as they want to if they can fix the stuff that's bothered them all season long.
Yeah, I'll hit a couple of other points and we'll have some final thoughts, but just want to remind everybody that our friends on FanDuel had the Texans as 5.5-point underdogs. I heard there was late money that was coming out on the Texans because that spread had dropped a little bit going into the game. So somebody knew something. Texans covered it. How much do you guys got the Colts? I'll start with you, Tom. How much do you have the Colts favored for next week? We're going to assume Stroud's coming back because they said basically before the prime game that it was almost assuredly he would have been back by Sunday if the game was Sunday. So he'll be ready.
I'm going to say it's the same 5.5. It's at Indy, correct? So I would imagine They're going to give them the grace of being the home team. So that's 3 points there. And then I would think based on, what they've got, their record and what they've been able to do, maybe another 2.5 points. So yeah, I'd say 5.5 towards the Colts as a favorite.
What do you think, Jace?
Be surprised if Tom's right on the money here. I'm going to go a little lower because y'all know I haven't bought the Colts all season long. I feel like I don't know if I've ever standings where you look at the first 4 teams going into week 12 and let's say the AFC playoffs, New England, Denver, Indy, and Pittsburgh, and said, I think I like the teams 5 through 8 better. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if I've ever seen a schedule so lopsided created. New England's played nobody. Indy's played nobody. Denver's barely played anybody. I mean, I think they're mostly fluff. The Colts they played 6 games at home over their first 10. Only 4 on the road. They're 6-0 at home, 2-2 on the road. I think this is an overrated team. You stop Josh Taylor, Jonathan Taylor, and then Daniel Jones turns back into a pumpkin like he has the 2 weeks before the bye. So I'm going to go 4.5 for the Colts. Colts favorite 4.5 because they are at home. They do have the better record, but I do want to throw this nugget to y'all. Have the tiebreaker over the Jags, 1 game back. Now with this one, I think they're 1 game back of the Buffalo Bills and have the tiebreaker with them. I tell you, I don't buy the Colts, especially the Colts having to go into Arrowhead. They could realistically lose that game. Texans have added rest 10 days to prepare for that Colts game. And if Colts lose to the Chiefs, Texans beat the Colts on short, they're 1 game back of the division. Just let that marinate for a second. After starting 0-3, they're 1 game back of the division. Yes, I'm putting the cart way before the horse getting out a couple of weeks, but I think that's really – I think that's realistic that it could play out that way, and it's going to be a fun watch. But excuse me, the Texans are back in the driver's seat and have numerous making into one of those last playoff spots, but it's not even dead yet to win that division for the first time in franchise history 3 years in a row.
I would say the Texans might even be close to a 3-point underdog or a 3.5-point underdog. I don't think it's going to be that much because if you look at it, everybody watched the Texans on Thursday. So there's going to be some excitement going, wait a second, this defense continues to peak, continues to get better. We're so blown away with this defense. Let's see what the Colts are going to do against this defense. And the offense didn't look like complete garbage with the backup. Imagine if CJ Stroud was playing in that game too. And the offensive line that we heard about that looked awful didn't look so awful against the Bills. So, and I know they have some of their issues against the run, but I would say the public is going to, make this a little bit more interesting than I think even 5.5 for the Colts. And I mean, you get the advantage because it's a home game. So I'll give them that 3 right off the bat. But other than that, I think it's going to be not much more than 3. I would be surprised if it was much more. We'll see. I'm anxious to see what that number is. And I haven't had a chance to jump on FanDuel to see if they threw it up there right after this game. But yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. One thing people were talking about, and I'll let you guys respond because I don't think I really gave Jayson a chance to respond to this. What did you think of Nick Caley in this game? And, how has he done with Davis Mills the last 3 weeks as an OC? Are you seeing progress with him as an offensive coordinator, or is it pretty similar to what we were seeing before CJ Stroud got hurt?
Yeah, I think we've seen progress with him. I don't think this was probably his best game. This Texans team offensively has gotten tight at times, and I think that's more than Nick Caley just really going back, regressing to where he was at the beginning of the season. I think we've seen growth through him throughout the year. Also, I want to say kudos continue to adapt and look to find the 5 best offensive linemen. I think he's getting close there again. I think you switch out Patterson for Andrews, you finally got your 5 best offensive line, and it's something we've been this isn't hindsight. I mean, I laid out that offensive line a couple weeks ago after Trent Brown's first game at right tackle, and I said then that I'd make Patterson center and bench Andrews. I think that you're one move away from having your best 5, but even if you don't make that, you've got some movers in there. You've got a 6-0 lineman and Blake Fisher that for Trent Brown not being as laterally quick as an Ursery or Titus Howard, that you can mask some of that. So I think they finally have found their line, whether they switch out Andrews or not. And I don't expect, they seem committed to Jake Andrews for whatever reason that is. So I think he's found his offensive line. Kudos to Nick Caserio, who drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round of a 2021 draft where almost everyone, if not all of those guys, look to have turned out to be bust at this point. Trevor Lawrence, say what you want about him, but he's the only guy outside of Davis Mills that is still even the conversation for being a possible starter. I mean, they're talking about Davis Mills replacing Justin Fields for the New York Jets. They were in the same draft. The Jets drafted Zach Wilson from that same draft. And so Nick Caserio didn't take any of those 5 quarterbacks in the top 15 picks that went. He took Davis Mills in the 3rd, and Davis Mills just went 3-0. We can critique him, but he's your backup quarterback. Back against your 3 and 5, you need him to come in and at least win 2 of the next 3 games. He won all 3 of those games. You know what I mean? So no matter how much nitpicking you want to do, there's not many, if any other backup quarterbacks in the NFL that's coming in to win those 3 games. And so kudos to Nick Caserio for that. Kudos to Nick Caley for working with your backup quarterback and coming out with 3 wins, even though most of that does have to do with the defense. And as far as some of the runs late, I don't think that was just all on. I think he was being a little bit conservative at times and didn't make some mistakes. But I also feel like, Robert, you hinted towards it a little bit as well, that they were loading the box up to stop the run because they were getting gashed so bad lately. They were bringing run blitzes, just trying different things. And so I think that took away some of the things that were working. And then when you have all the drop passes and Mills misses on passes, that makes the offensive play calling look worse as well. But to Tom's point, Nick Caley has drawn up winning plays throughout the year. But when you had Laken Tomlinson starting at left guard, Juice Scruggs is benched. Laken Tomlinson was a healthy inactive this week. And so you're playing backup quality guys at 1 and 2 different positions on this offensive line early in the season, while you have a rookie left tackle taking his up to speed. And so I think Nick Caley's had to overcome a lot, implement a new offense, first time as an OC. And I wouldn't be overcritical for him, especially after winning 3 straight games with a backup quarterback. Again, even with that being mostly on the defense being so dominant.
Also, you got to make note, Tom, that Davis Mills was the 8th quarterback in that draft. He was the 8th one drafted, and as a 3rd-round pick. If you get a guy in the 3rd round that's a really good backup quarterback, that's
who were the other two? That's interesting. I didn't remember. I thought it was the 5 in the 1st round and Mills in the 3rd. Who went after Mac? Let's see. There was Trevor Lawrence. There was Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Who else went in between that and Davis Mills?
I'm drawing a blank, but I remember I felt like he was, because I was talking about it at the time on my show, and I want to say we said it was the 8th guy, the 8th quarterback draft, and I was like, is the 8th quarterback drafted going to be the starting quarter? Is he going to be a starting quarterback for a while? So. He took a shot. It was worth taking a shot there. And it was the same draft that he got Nico. And those two guys, it's funny, that Nico and him were connecting a lot in the last few weeks. Not as much this week, but it's funny that both of those guys, same draft. And, he's sort of got Nico go. Yeah. Same round and got him going. And I believe Nick, made a couple of deals to get Nico. He got himself in that position, if you remember.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And I also want to, for Nick Caserio, I mean, the biggest knock on him this year was that he had so many holes on the offensive line. Well, it's looked like they plugged, most of the quality signing for Trent Brown, who was less than $3 million. Titus, his versatility, drafted an Ariante Ursary in the 2nd round. And I think he might have been like the 8th offensive tackle or something like that. And he's playing like one of the best from that draft. The sign of Ed Ingram, who I think is still on his rookie contract, you get him at value with the trade, where I think you traded a 6th-round pick. He's only 26. He's a big candidate to be re-signed to this unit, so that gives you one less hole to fill on that offensive line. And so outside of that, I think another thing that goes under the radar is giving that extension to Davis Mills. Are you getting Davis Mills in the offseason for $7 million? I know. And are you going to even be able to re-sign him, because he's probably going somewhere else to compete for a starting job? So now being proactive, that extra deal on Davis Mills is such a calculated, smart move to where he can get that return on investment, where you use a 3rd rounder in 2021, get a couple starting years out of Mills, get him 3-0 in the backup of his final year, then flip him for possibly the same round pick that you shipped out. Because a team like the Jets and many other, you're not getting a quarterback that can come in and compete for a start out of a rookie for a $7 million contract. And so that's a valuable contract. It's up the stock, 3-0 starting in the NFL this year. And so now they can turn around because he extended early, got a value on it. That contract's more attractive to opposing teams looking for a quarterback, to where he could get that 3rd-round pick back 5 years later after investing in it. I mean, that's chess right there.
Yeah, I'm curious, Tom. We're talking about this week about Joe Mixon is not going to be back this year. I believe if they release him at some point this offseason, it's a $2 million hit on next year because of that extension that he signed. He's going to get criticized a little bit for the Christian Kirk extension because, what Kirk has done this year, despite the big play in this game and making a couple of catches today. What do you think about those two extensions? And because I think it's one of these things where Caserio rolls the dice on these guys. He gets guys that he thinks are on the cheap, and then he rolls the dice with these extensions with the hope that, they might be deals like we're seeing with Davis Mills. You're seeing with a couple of the guys, but the extensions have kind of not worked out at this point real well for Christian Kirk and Joe Mixon.
I think, though, what he's doing is hedging his bet a little bit. And all of these deals are short. It's like if they work for the short term, great. And if not, I'm not tied to them, with these big bloated contracts where I'm eating dead money 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I think for him, it's like a little calculated risk because, okay, in 2 years, I could have them performing where they've priced themselves out of what I want to pay. But if I get what I need for 2 years, then I can turn around and go shop elsewhere. So in the case of Joe Mixon and Christian Kirk, he's drafted, or at least we believe he's drafted the replacement for Joe Mixon in Woody Marks. They look the same, have a similar play style. I think that Woody is supposed to be the future in the backfield for the Houston Texans. That's not to say they won't add another guy, but it wouldn't be Joe Mixon who will be on the wrong side of 30 at that point. It'll be somebody on the younger side. I think Christian Kirk, they've rolled the dice on wide receiver after wide receiver trying to find a complement for, Nico, and it just hasn't worked out. I think Christian Kirk also is not going to work out. I think the young guys offer, very similar value that Christian Kirk does. So, they may look to see what they can do, move him, maybe eat some of that contract, whatever. To speak to some of the chat, Big Al was talking about Woody Marks not getting enough carries. I don't know if you noticed in the last 3 games, Woody Marks is starting to get the lion's share. He's just been nicked up. Tonight, he had something with the knee. Last week, I think it was an ankle or like a calf thing. And I think that's kind of like cost him like 3 or 4 carries, which would get that number up to where it needs to be, where you're going, okay, that's the bell cow guy. He's doing what we want to do. And for Robert, because I know he loves Dare Ogunbowale so much, and I know he saw him in the game tonight. I say this again. If Woody wasn't going the wrong way, maybe we don't see any Dare. I don't know, but that's a rookie thing, and that's something where, okay, if I need a play, I'm gonna, and I need to give this guy a rest, I'm gonna do that. I really do believe Jayson has it on the money that he has some dirt on somebody, because Dameon Pierce got cut this week, and there's no way in any world that Dameon Pierce can't give you what Dare is giving you, unless you think he's a better pass catching back. Sorry, words are hard. We talked a lot about Nick Caserio, and he's done a phenomenal job. No D'Amico love for this game. We love to hate on him when they're not doing good. Does it get none? I'll do this. It's the only thing I'm going to say. I saw him coaching up EJ Speed, linebacker to linebacker. I thought that was great. The camera panned over to it. I think that is what he needs to do more of, as far as like with the defense kind of working, one-on-ones instead of calling plays. They talked about it in the game where he gave up play calling, which if you look at it now, that feels like a risky thing, right? You're 0-3 and then you're going, okay, now I'm going to give up play calling, which is like what I'm good at. So for Miko to do that and still feel I can still do my job and not worry about, that's a lot of trust in his offensive coordinators. And I think that's why people want to play for him. He was called a glorified cheerleader in the chat, but you hear Nick Caserio talking about, hey, we're lockstep. That's my guy. You clearly see all the guys high five and all that stuff. I want that to be my leader. I want to follow him. There are other guys that have a different coaching style where they're stoic and they don't, get with their players and it's real quiet. And yeah, Bill Belichick won a lot of rings, but I don't know anybody going, man, I want to play for Bill Belichick.
Well, the other part about this is that, with D'Amico, primetime, the Texans are 18-30 in primetime. Well, that was until going into this game, and now it's 19-30. They haven't had success much in primetime, but more than that, whenever they play a team that's better than them. I mean, yeah, they won a couple of games in primetime last year. They beat a Dallas Cowboys team that was in shambles when they played them. They beat the Bears that was in shambles. That was the early Caleb Williams, and their coach was not the greatest in the world, so they won those 2 games. But for them to win a primetime game against a really good team and a really good quarterback. Hey, I give him my props, Tom. I'll give him his props for this game. This was a good win for D'Amico for sure. And, he seems to have the Bills number, which that will help if they can get to play the Bills in the playoffs, to be able to know that you maybe have the Bills number a little bit. He's been able to beat them. So that's a good thing. They've got the Colts and the Chiefs next. Jayson, do they got to win at least one of these next two games, or do you think they got to win both, or where are they on these next two?
No, I don't think they have to win both, but I went into this 3-game stretch after they got back to 5-5 thinking they needed to win the front two, because I feel like that's your most realistic shot at getting 2 of the 3, because you look at the advantage, and what are those advantage? You get the home game on Thursday night, and after this game, the home team's 9-3 on Thursday night. It's a short week. Having one team have to have another day where they have to travel on a short week, that's a big difference. And that's why, you typically see the home team win these games. You guys are banged up. Now you get 10 days to prepare for the Colts after they have to travel to take on Kansas City. So they can't look ahead. They don't have any type of extra rest. And they've got a tough game against the Chiefs, where they're going to have to put it all on the line. So I think the Texans get the advantage again with that 10 days rest. So I think that those are the 2 games most realistic for the Texans to win out of the 3, because then the Chiefs get 10 days. Andy Reid's a monster when he comes off a bye or he has extra time to prepare. The Texans having to travel into Arrowhead, I just don't think that's advantageous for the Texans, and the Chiefs could really have their back up against the wall at that point, and that might be more of a must-win for the Chiefs, if you can believe it, than it is for the Texans. So I think between the 2 games, I think the Texans have a better chance of beating the Colts with the extra preparation time coming off of Thanksgiving. They get to go through Thanksgiving week sitting on a bye, sitting on a huge win for 10 days. I don't think you could ask to be in a better situation. Enjoy your holidays, your Thanksgiving, and let this win in prime time soak up for 10 days, and then go face the Colts team that you have to beat. So I think that's advantageous for the Texans. I think the Texans have their back against the wall with the Chiefs getting 10 days to prepare for them the following week. So I think they have to win 2, and they've already knocked down 1. Now they've got this Colts game ahead of them. Keep that intention of win every single game, and don't even worry about it. Control your destiny. I mean, if they won out, which is a big ask, that game on the last game of the season in Houston against the Colts could really be for the division. That's crazy to think about after how this season started at 0-3.
Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving, that defensive line did some stuffing for the warm-up to Thanksgiving for sure. They did some real stuffing there. Last couple of things. Just a reminder that, again, next week, for sure, I'm going to have an Astros conversation. You're going to want to check that out, about a team that nobody talks about in Astros history, but it's kind of a fun story. Also, talked Rockets earlier this week. Go check that out. Great conversation about them. Hey, nobody's more fun than the Rockets around here. They're doing a hell of a job. We also talked a little bit of Cougars in that one too, which, whatevs. They're like 1-2 in the nation these days. So they're pretty good as well. It's the Bullpen podcast. Go check out Tom over there. Jayson, Dr. Roto. You got to make sure you follow him on X at Jayson Braddock. Follow Tom at Third Coast Tom. Thanks for joining us on the Houston Sports Talk Live Texans postgame, presented by our friends at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel.com. Check them out on their app as well. Thanks, Jayson and Tom, for the great insight. Thanks, all of you listeners and viewers, for checking in with us. Just keep coming on, bringing us the comments. We love hearing from you guys. And, go Texans. Hey, another victory. Whatevs.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.